Yeah.
Well, if I travel through the Sebastopol area today, I don't see nearly the number of Gravenstein apple trees as I used to, but I see a lot of wineries.
Yeah.
It's really, really taken off the wine industry. Of course, Sonoma and Napa counties would be along those. And there's nothing wrong with having all the wineries there, but you don't want to lose those Gravenstein apples as well.
Right.
Well, joining us right now to talk a little bit about Gravenstein apples, why they make such great juice, and why it is so important to save the apple is Paula Shatkin with Slow Food Russian River, and they have something called a Presidium program. Paula, welcome to Eat, Drink, Explore Radio.
Thank you. I'm here.
Yes. And now you're in between, say, Sebastopol and the river, right?
And the ocean. I'm in Occidental.
I know Occidental.
Oh.
In fact, we used to eat at a restaurant there called Negri's.
That's still there.
It's still there.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, Negri's, wonderful Italian food, family style, fun place. Grace, I can't remember the name of the server that was there. My parents right now are screaming at the top of their lungs.
Going, how can you not remember?
How can you not remember? Right. At any rate, Paula, we don't want to get too far off track. The Gravenstein apple, the harvest is winding up right now for that apple, but it's a great apple to press, right?
It is. It makes fabulous juice.
And why is that? What is it? Is it like the acid content, or?
It's just this perfectly balanced apple between sweet and tart. You don't want your juice to be overly sweet, and that's why it's also the best apple sauce and apple pie apple. And it also holds its shape in a pie, which you don't want your pie apples to just be completely mush. So they're just perfect apples for a lot of reasons.
Patty just lit up like a Christmas tree because
I'm giving you the thumbs up.
She makes one of the best apple pies I've ever had.
And it's so important, the texture of the apple.
That's right.
And you have to bake it to a certain point to get all of the other things to happen with the juice and everything so it doesn't fall apart. But then some apples just go to mush, and that is also not good.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. Now, Randall, you probably want to ask the same question. Is there a difference between apple juice and apple cider?
My understanding is that there isn't really, that there's hard cider and then there's apple juice or cider.
And you have some people there in your region that make hard cider out of the Gravensteins.
We do. We have a group called Tilted Shed Cider Works that's making a Gravenstein apple cider, and we have a number of new cider makers coming up in our community, planting cider apples and using Gravensteins. It's a new way to increase the value of our apple harvest.
Now, the Gravensteins, were they brought over from another country, or are they native to the area?
They were brought over by the Russians in Fort Ross, and many of us actually have trees that were made from scions, from the original Fort Ross trees.
Wow.
They were thought to have originated in an area of Russia called Jutland. The Germans and the Scandinavians kind of claim them as well.
Right. The Gravenstein's a little bit of a smaller apple.
No, they can be big.
Oh, I'm
They
picturing
okay.
a small.
They can be big, they can be green, they can be striped, and they can be red.
Oh, really? So
Interesting.
yeah, kind of all over the place. Now, what is this Presidia program?
Well, slow food, I don't know what you all know about the slow food movement, but it's
love it.
an international movement started in Italy, and it has a mechanism called the Presidia, which is the Latin word for fortress. And the idea is to build a fortress around a culturally significant, endangered food by helping the people who grow it or make it establish new markets, new demand, and guarantee a viable future for it.
So the Gravenstein apple then it qualifies as a food that needs to be protected?
It definitely does. And 9 years ago when we applied to be a Presidia, which has to be approved by the Italians, we drove around our town and took photos of everything that's named Gravenstein because it has to have cultural significance as well. And there are only 600 acres of Grav now, and there were 900 in 2007, and there were 1,300 in 1998.
And if you went back farther, do you know when it peaked?
I don't know. The last crop report I got to was 1998, and that was 1,300 acres of Grav.
So that's less than half?
4,300 acres of apples in 1998, and now we have 21, so it's a little less than half.
Right.
Wow, that's a big difference.
And we feel very strongly about not only saving endangered foods that have cultural significance, and here we have, the Gravenstein Festival and the Gravenstein Highway and the Apple Blossom Parade, so it's got cultural significance, but also we're very concerned about biodiversity. Slow food is in general, and we are up here. And if we become an all-grape community, then we're vulnerable to grape illnesses, and we don't have biodiversity.
Right. And so that makes sense then to save another crop that's there and put a firewall up, like you were saying, to keep the apples from shrinking the land shrinkage from going any further. I was always under the impression that the slow food movement started in the town of Sonoma, but I guess that would be the U.S. version of it?
Yeah, it started in Italy. It started when they were building a McDonald's at the Spanish Steps in Rome, and the Italians stood in mute protest with plates of spaghetti because they were so upset about their food culture being taken over by multinational corporations.
Right, even though the spaghetti came over from China. Right? I mean, originally, Marco Polo brought pasta over.
That's true.
Yeah. So,
and
but
now
I think that
we're suffering from apple juice concentrate from China up here.
I bet.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So is one of the problems facing the Gravenstein is just the money isn't there per acre that you could get if you were planting a Zinfandel or something.
That's definitely one of the problems. Yes. And the Gravenstein has a few strikes against it because it's an early apple. People are still eating sweeter stone fruits in August, and the harvest is pretty much August.
Oh, I see.
And people also used to can more, so people would come up here in August and buy tons and tons of apples and can their applesauce for the winter and dry their apples. And there is a resurgence in canning. That's one of the things we're trying to do here. We've gotten a lot of publicity about losing the apple. We have Save the Gravenstein bumper stickers.
Oh, cool.
And we're trying to get people to realize that they could lose it if they don't pay attention, if they don't buy it. We're trying to get apples in the schools. We've got 100 restaurants every year that agree to feature them in their menus.
Oh, that's a great idea. And with the foodie culture there in Sonoma County, hopefully that will take off. Paula Shatkin with Slow Food Russian River. We have a link to their Presidia program for the Gravenstein, and I hope we can generate a little buzz for you, Paula. Thanks for joining us. All right, stick around, everyone, because coming up next, Patty, we are talking cooking in season, which we both love to do.
Love it.
And I'm sure Paula would like this segment, too.
Yes, she would.
Right. So it's fall. We'll talk about cooking in the fall with food expert Molly Watson.